Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, and happy Thursday evening to all of you. This is the Club of the Man 1993, and I do have a little special guest right next to me, my one cat Jojo, who seemingly wants a lot of attention tonight. So, yeah, this is take two because Jojo was kind of meowing, but, you know, I gave her the loving she deserves. Anyways, guys, we are here for my review of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, the April 28th, 2025 edition of Monday Night Raw. And just to give a quick little update based off of the posts that I was sharing on YouTube for the past couple days. So as most of you may have seen on the community tab, there was a bad storm in my area Tuesday night, and it only lasted a couple minutes, but within those couple minutes it was just enough to do some damage. Knocked down some trees, knocked down some power lines. There's a lot of houses in my area, in my hometown, without power currently. Some of course have gotten their power back, some still haven't. Some, like my place of work, did have power, but then I guess while things were being worked on or other things happened, we lost power, and because of that, we didn't. It was a very odd day today at work, operating on a generator that was only able to give power in limited rooms in the building. I personally, my house did lose power for a couple minutes before I got home from work on Tuesday. I only know that because clocks were blinking when I got home, and then we did lose internet for 24 hours. So things in the house now are fine. But the reason why I'm still recording this is because of things going, back and forth with, the power. And of course, sometimes when the internet just comes back, it can be a little bit funky. So just to be safe, I'm going to pre-record this Raw review. And then if things, continue to improve, then to make up for it, I'll do SmackDown's review live this coming weekend. So that is the plan. Just want to give you the update on that. Everything's good. We're dandy. We're going to roll and talk about Raw. So Raw this week took place. Where should I double check where it took place at? It was in the T-Mobile Center. Too many T-Mobile venues. In Kansas City, Missouri. And for a show that's during a period of time where WWE normally has like a cool down period with right after WrestleMania before we get to SummerSlam, it wasn't too bad of a show. I actually think the build, the Backlash, is going to be a solid card. I personally really enjoyed this week's episode of Raw. We got a lot more matches set up. For the most part, I think they're going to be pretty good. And Backlash should be a solid B-level pay-per-view, I would say. So I'm looking forward to it. We already have, of course, John Cena and Randy Orton. We're getting Lyra, Valkyria, and Becky Lynch. We are also getting, I'm surprised we're going to get this now and not later, which is why it wasn't in my Backlash card predictions. We are going to be getting Pat McAfee versus Gunther at Backlash. I thought we would be maybe waiting until like SummerSlam or Money in the Bank for that one. We also are getting Jey Uso and Logan Paul. I'll have a little bit to say about that when we get to that match official. Liv Morgan announces she's going to need some time off because she is going to be being involved, and I think it's called Bad Lieutenant Tokyo or something like that is the movie she's going to be involved with, so congratulations to her. And yeah, so a couple good things that happened a lot of good things that happened on Raw this week. Again, is it like the best stuff ever? No, but it was pretty good, I think, for this time of the year, and I look forward to talking about it. So let's get rolling and talk about this. We got a couple of things I want to get to tonight. So first we open up the show with this new trio of Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman. Rollins, as usual, welcome. He knows it's difficult for those of us who still want a chance to see CM Punk, and for those of us who want to put our fingers in the air for Roman Reigns. But this is the future of the industry. He runs down along with people who the future is not, and says Paul Heyman to his left and Braun Breaker to his right. The future of this industry goes through Seth Rollins. And that brings out then Sami Zayn, which I'm like, interesting, because it felt like a few months ago when Seth Rollins was really letting his CM Punk hatred really get into his skin, he had a couple of encounters with Sami Zayn. And Seth asks Sami if he caught WrestleMania. And Sami said, yep, it was very good. And we've been friends for a long time. He felt the need to come out here and tell him that face to face, what he's doing is a load of crap. And Seth's like, what do you mean? Sami says, how much time did you spend talking about Punk and Roman? And then one of those guys had in common is standing over your shoulder now. Rollins was confused. Sami puts the bang on it and asks how he's supposed to be different from CM Punk. Maybe this deep-seated hatred for Punk was just jealousy, and he wanted to be in the position he was in. Seth's like, I'm not Punk or Roman. This is my vision for the future. The two of them have talked about their visions of the future many times, and Sami points out what a coincidence is this vision revolves around him. Seth says he's just the best man for the job, and Sami says, you're a hypocrite. This is just the bloodline with his wise man and his little dog. He's not just my dog, he's the little dog, Braun Breaker. Sami then tells Braun, if you keep looking at him like that, he's going to kick him in the face. Seth then tells everybody to calm down and is like, yo, Sam, what's this all about? And Sami came out here to be honest, so he'll be honest in return. This is his vision for the future, and either you're with him or you become a target. And that's not a threat. He doesn't want that. It doesn't matter if he hates him or loves him. He like he does. If he stands in the way, he's a target. He doesn't want this to become the blows, and Heyman can pull some strings and get Sami moved off Raw. Is that what they have to do, since he clearly is not buying it? So maybe he can cash him out. He tells him basically to think about it and give him his answer by the end of the night. So, to give like an early little, my thoughts on this thing with Seth Rollins, it feels like they're trying to do the storyline again where Seth's the Monday Night Messiah. Like, it feels like they're doing the whole Monday Night Messiah shtick again with a little more, spice to it. Not as, corny, more a little more smoother. Basically Triple H's way of probably booking the Monday Night Messiah. Which I like. I mean, having Paul Heyman involved with it is interesting. Braun Breaker is a good, a foil as well, as he could definitely benefit from working more with Heyman as well. Is there going to be a third member? I think so. I still think it's maybe interesting is if Becky Lynch kind of starts her own group and these two kind of coincide. I also think if they want to add another male, I've heard rumors about Austin Theory. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to giving that one a shot. I've also heard this is where Bronson Reed's going to be when he comes back. That actually could work really well too. But yeah, I feel like it's the Monday Night Messiah gimmick just tweaked a little bit. Put with Triple H's persona on it, I feel like is what they're going for with it. So we of course had Sami Zayn, of course, the rest of the night. Basically, just to go to the end real quick, people throughout the night was giving Sami Zayn their advice backstage of what he should do, and basically, he stood up to Seth Rollins saying that I'm not going to be threatened, and I want to be world champion, but I want to do it my way, not someone else's way, so he does not take Seth's offer. Seth basically feeds Bron Breaker to him, and Bron just absolutely destroys him. It was basically like what Kevin Owens did to him in NXT, what Bron Breaker did to Sami. The match they had for the main event was basically a match stoppage. A true match stoppage. And it was great. I know people are saying this should lead to a match with Sami and Seth at Backlash. You could do that because it does sound like Roman Reigns is going to is going to be off until June. So I'm guessing that tag match between Roman and Punk and Seth and Braun that I predicted on my card is not going to happen at this time. It will, though, at some point. I'm cool doing Seth and Sami, though, if you want to do it. But my honest opinion, I do think they need to get this to WrestleMania. Especially if they're teasing Sami Zayn talking about the world title. Because at some point this year, they're going to put the belt back on Seth. And I think, would it be something if this is the start, the plant the seeds for a title win at WrestleMania 42 for Sami Zayn winning the world title? Triple H has always been a Sami Zayn supporter. And I think he's always seemed to kind of have something for Sami Zayn to get to. Like the tag titles his first year, when Triple H took over creative. Tag titles his first year. Intercontinental Champion his second year. Now, of course, his past year, kind of took a break from him for a little bit. But now I think it's time he really wants to get that world title on Sami. Again, whatever they do with this thing with him and Seth Rollins could lead to a long-term story where we could see Sami dethrone Seth at WrestleMania next year. You might have to do a match early like right now. Cool with me. But let's get something long-term out of this. I really am interested to see where this goes. So, we got that started off. Then we have our first match of the evening, Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. And it was a good match. Roxanne, though, loses, though, by disqualification because her seemingly new partner in crime, Giulia, comes out and chop blocks Rhea, and there's a brawl. Io Sky comes in and makes the save. A little back and forth there. The main roster babyfaces stand tall. I'm not 100% sure, even when I tried to read the results from NXT, why Giulia is being a heel right now. It feels like it's just because she lost the title and she's just taking a different approach to it. I imagine because she's making appearances on the main roster, I am going to do a turn alert for her this week. We'll talk a little bit more about it there too, which I'm interested to see where it goes. But does it feel just a little bit random since Roxanne Perez just kind of reunited with Cora Jade and then they out of the blue split at TakeOver Stand and Deliver, which I figured because Roxanne's coming up to the main roster. Roxanne is definitely ready. But Giulia and Roxanne already are like, hey, we could be a dangerous duo. Like, okay, we'll see what happens to it. But it feels just a wee bit random. But I'll talk about it a little more whenever I do my turn alert for Giulia. But we got that there. Back in the Judgment Day Clubhouse, Finn Balor was kind of like on the outside again. But he comes in and welcomes back JD. And he wasn't basically, he's like, JD, why didn't you tell me you were coming back? He's like, I told Dom because of him winning the title. And then Liv Morgan tells them that him and JD have a match against the War Raiders to earn a shot at the World Tag Titles, which again, nobody told Finn. So they're still teasing that future dissension, which I'm like, get to it sooner rather than later, because again, Judgment Day just desperately need a change, I feel like, or need to just split up and move on. So we have that going there. Logan Paul comes out, basically calls out Jey Uso, saying he wants a title shot. Jey comes out, accepts the challenge, super kicks him, and later Logan takes him out backstage. So that match is official. Look, first off, let me just say this. I probably said this recently too. Am I the only one, even though, again, I know I voiced that I'm not personally a fan of Logan Paul, the guy himself. But does it feel like he's starting to get a little bland? Like, don't get me wrong, great in-ring action, yes. But why does it feel like I'm getting the same exact thing over and over with him anymore? And the fact he's facing Jey Uso already. I'm not saying Logan can't be a world champion. As a full-time performer, I'd like to see him be a world champion if he's a full-time performer, yes. Someday they are going to put that world title on Logan. It's just, I don't feel like this is the right time. Again, we all know eventually Seth Rollins is going to get that world title. Let Jey have a few months with it. Get him to maybe like Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. And I won't complain. But I'm not ready for them to put the belt on Logan yet. But we'll see what they do. Hopefully they don't put the belt on Logan yet. But I'm worried they may. But hopefully not. Judgment Day have their match with War Raiders. Match was good. New Day were at ringside, of course. With New Day instigating War Raiders a little bit, they did toss, I think it was Finn into them. But War Raiders do get the victory of the War Machine. And they are going to be getting another tag title shot very soon. Hopefully they're going to continue to utilize the tag teams more on both shows, for sure. I already talked about the several backstage segments with Sami Zayn. Speaking of another person having a lot of explaining to do, we get Becky Lynch coming out. And she admits that it was her who attacked Bayley at WrestleMania. The crowd, not to feign outrage and act like the bad guy, Bayley had it coming because how she repeatedly attacked her since 2019, and Bayley's never apologized for it. She mocks Bayley for whining about not being a bigger star, which I'm assuming she was talking about Bayley's interview with Chris Van Vliet, where she was kind of admitting that she's not on the level that like a Charlotte or a Becky is, and feel like, she's still got something left to prove. But as she mocks Bayley, she says she's got to see what a bigger star looks like when she walked down the aisle at WrestleMania. And that brings her to Lyra. The enemy of your enemy is your friend, works in reverse. And the friend of your enemy is your enemy. She tried to save her, tried to get her to ditch Bayley, and she sure wouldn't have won the tag title with Bayley, but she's already compromised. Already a loser. Lyra comes out. She basically said that she doesn't know how it took for being hit with many manhandle slams, but she finally sees and knows exactly what she is. The illusion of Becky Lynch. She's going to make her pay for what she did to Bayley, and she gets in the ring, and of course she also said that people warned her about Becky, but Becky bails when Lyra gets in. Lyra taunts her saying, is it because I beat you for the NXT Women's Championship last time they fought one-on-one? Becky says from now on, she only fights when it matters, and it doesn't matter here in Kansas City. Lyra then says she should have seen this coming, so fine, she wants the match at Backlash, which Becky's like, okay, that's on. Lyra tried to attack her again, but then Becky ran away, and then when Lyra got up on the stage, Becky came out of nowhere and blindsided her on the stage. So that should be a good match. Again, this is definitely the first time I'm interested to see where Becky goes as a heel. And I do like this premise with her story with Bayley. And just to briefly talk about Bayley, because she even, like I said before, she was saying, like, she feels like she still has something left to prove when she was being interviewed with Chris Van Vliet. And how, she wants to stick with being a babyface for now and, prove people wrong that she can make another character work besides the hugger character. I feel like a feud with Becky Lynch right now is kind of what she needs, because when I hear these promos and how they're going back into history of how, Bayley and Damage Control gave Becky Lynch hell for quite a while, led to, of course, that 6-woman tag match at WrestleMania 39. And it's kind of true. I feel like what we're getting here with Becky and Bayley is what I wanted to see with Bayley and Bianca last year. They teased a few moments of them, still having the tension because, they've been, mortal enemies for a while, which, Triple H knows how to tell that story. But they never really dug into it. I feel they're going to do this here instead with Becky and Bayley, which I'm all for it. So I feel like in the long run, this could not only, of course, help Lyra Valkyria, but this also could help Bayley too. And we know there'll probably be a SummerSlam match, Becky and Bayley, because Becky, I feel like, is definitely winning that Women's Intercontinental title at Backlash off of Lyra. Again, Lyra's great in the ring. It's still character work, though. But I do look forward to seeing when it does get to Becky and Bayley for sure, as that could, again, finally help Bayley get some momentum going as a babyface for sure. So we have that. Nick Aldis was there also in charge since Adam Pearce is out sick. Penta basically agreed to a match against Jay McDonough next week. And Chad Gable goes out of nowhere and talks crap on Penta and his brother Ray, and it leads to an attack. So I'm guessing that's a continued feud with Penta El Zero Miedo, or just Penta WWE taking on El Grande Americano? Possibly. We'll have to see, though. Rusev also had a hype video teasing basically that he's bringing the Redeemer gimmick to the WWE. He talked about how 5 years ago he had it all and lost himself, falling into the abyss on his way home to Bulgaria after he last left WWE. And that's where he found himself, healed, redeemed himself, and realized he'd no longer fight for a woman that isn't his or a flag that no longer is. He had an epiphany and realized he was free to crush people because he wanted to. And he used his jack body for good. He says the lack of suffering ends now. He's the tempest rolling in. He will hunt them, forgive them, and fix them. So like I said, nice short little promo with the Redeemer gimmick being teased. We'll see where it goes. Like I said, I still have some concerns about Rusev being in the WWE because I do worry that he is going to get lost in the shuffle, but prove me wrong. Speaking of prove me wrong, we had Stephanie Vaquer again, another match on Raw, this time against Ivy Nile. I'm guessing either Stephanie is teasing maybe basically an immediate call-up whenever she drops that women's title, or this is another way to kind of get some eyes for Evolution in July. But I thought her and Ivy had a really great match. Again, I feel like Ivy is being a little bit underutilized right now. I definitely see a nice powerhouse type wrestler in her, and she held her ground pretty good with Stephanie Vaquer. Of course, Stephanie would get the victory. If Giulia is definitely getting called up, when Stephanie gets up here, oh my goodness, that's going to be two excellent additions for the women's division. We also have a segment where Nick Aldis is talking with AJ Styles, and how AJ is basically ready to make a comeback. But before we can talk more, here comes Liv, Raquel, and Dominic. And Liv reminds Nick about needing the time off to film her movie, which she got approved. And then Dom's like, yeah, I need time off too. And Nick's like, why? He goes, because I'm the champ. And like, not happy. I basically said for a future match with Dominic Mysterio and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title. We were teasing that with AJ Styles and Braun Breaker. We never got to it, but we'll see what happens with that. Karrion Kross also rolls up on Sami Zayn and taunts him, of course, about his decision to make. And then we had the Pat McAfee promo, where we talked about, of course, how Gunther had been suspended indefinitely and fined. But Pat says time for him to address the issue. He talks up Kansas City and says people have forgotten who he is. He says such a successful career on the mic that he thinks that he's even forgotten who he is. But he looked in the mirror and saw he's still that dog that was born in Pittsburgh to a father working paycheck to paycheck. And he's been lucky to be blessed with great friends and go from an irrelevant bum to someone who's almost known in every city. He's not especially talented and he's not especially handsome, but when he dies and he's 6 feet in the dirt, he hopes people knew that he worked his butt off. Not just for him, but for his friends, his family, his community, for everyone out there, no matter what you are. And he hopes that he left the world a better place than when he came into it. He also wants to be known for his loyalty. And there's one man, though, who's been with him since they first met, since day one, and that is Michael Cole. He's loyal to Michael Cole, and he basically just really puts him over. But basically, gets to when you have a problem with Michael Cole, you got a problem with Pat McAfee. He calls out Nick Aldis, or he calls him SmackDown's Adam Pearce version. Nick comes out and basically Pat demands to lift Gunther's suspension, which Nick's like, not right away, but I can have the suspension lifted before Backlash and have a match at Backlash instead. To which Pat McAfee then agrees. Like I said, I was surprised with this because I really thought they were going to put this one off until maybe SummerSlam. But we're getting that Backlash. Cool with me. Again, it looks like with Gunther dropping the title, they're kind of going in a wee bit of a different direction with his character. Kind of giving him a Brock Lesnar moment where he took out Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on Raw last week. So we'll see, of course, where that goes, for sure. And actually, that was basically it, because that was when Sami gave Seth his answer, and Bron basically did the match stoppage, and then afterwards, Seth tells him, he dug his own grave, and then Rollins hits Sami with the curb stomp, and that is the end of the show. So overall, I thought it was a great episode of Raw. I gave it a B+. Again, nothing really meh. A lot of good to solid things. And again, I really like what they're doing with Seth Rollins and his crew. I really like kind of the tease for Sami to eventually win a world title, which that needs to happen for sure. Becky stuff was great. Logan Paul and Jey Uso will be solid. And of course, Pat McAfee's promo too on Gunther. So overall, a great show. I gave Raw a B+ this week. B+, what are your guys' thoughts on Raw this week? You guys' thoughts down in the comments section below. Slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You can also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. Until then, guys, so check it out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night, and do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!